So we know that there's been some kind of conflicting reports a little bit about Lamar Jackson's status for this next week against the 1-3 Texans coming to M&T Bank Stadium. The Baltimore Sun said that he would be out and maybe out for, 2 or 3 weeks. Ian Rappaport left the door open saying that he's trying to get back. Personally, I'm not buying that report. Nonetheless, of course, since his status is up in the air, it's your franchise quarterback. It's Lamar Jackson. John Harbaugh, I'm sure, expected plenty of questions about Lamar and also the entire injury report, which is a sad sight, and we will get to that in just a minute. But here is John Harbaugh. There were 3 different questions yesterday at podium about Lamar Jackson and his status and how he was injured. And to Kobe Pruitt's point in the super chats, he was a little bit prickly while answering those questions.
Wasn't out at practice today. Any determination on him for Sunday's game?
Yeah, we just kind of take it day by day through the week. You'll see the injury reports. It's really all those guys. I mean, we could sit here and you could ask me about every single guy, and it's a fairly long list. Who's got time for that? So you'll see who practices and who didn't, and we'll be working our way through the week with guys. You'll see guys back tomorrow. You see guys back Friday. See guys back Sunday. We'll get as many guys back as we can, but we're also preparing for not having some guys back, and that's what we'll prepare for, and we'll be ready to go and play our best game of the year.
John, do you think Lamar, was it one particular play in Kansas City? Or
no, I really don't have any information on that, and I really don't think it matters. It's not really what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about the team and getting ready to practice, and Lamar's working. He's doing a great job. I talked to him yesterday for a long time. He's in here all day today working and in the meetings and different things like that. So, yeah, it's just kind of what we do.
With Lamar, I know you grew up with all the info. You would say day to day with him?
How about I just don't say anything?
Okay.
That's what I would do. I
just don't want to take anything out of it.
Yeah. Why don't we just leave it alone, and we'll just,
Be out for.
Yeah, the injury, thank you. The injury report will be out at 4. Great.
What's funny is that's all he really has to say because he clearly doesn't want to answer injury questions. I don't blame him. No head coach wants to. And so just do the Bill Belichick and just give a 3-line answer and say, hey, the injury report will be out at 4. But he I don't know why. He always feels like he needs to give a little bit of a speech or whatever of why he doesn't want to talk about it. But Bobby, it was interesting. In the first answer, he's like, who's got time for that? I was like, well, clearly all of us. Bobby has time. Sarah has time. The fans have time. The media, that's all they really want to ask about. There's other questions or a lot of questions or filler questions until they can get to their injury questions. It's Lamar Jackson. We've got time, Harbs. We've got time. Then the second question, which we're going to dive into quite a bit, is he was asked, was there a particular play? You'll notice he cut her off before she finished it. That one came across as very defensive of didn't even want to felt very defensive when it was asked, when did he injure it? And then the last one was how about we just don't talk about it at all? So the reason why that second one though, Bobby, was most interesting to me that he cut it off, it probably because of the conversation we had yesterday with Femi Amedejo, when he was he doesn't feel like Lamar got injured for the first time in Kansas City, right? But before we get to that, to kind of build up to this point, you got a clip from Chris Long a couple days ago saying that Lamar doesn't look his normal self and saying the speed isn't quite there. Can we play that? Because I think he had been noticing this for a couple weeks.
Yeah, so there's 2 different clips, and
okay,
help me out here because we don't have it in our waiting room right now at the moment. Yesterday, there's essentially hey, look, I think the organization's failed him at different turns of the road. I don't believe that's what you're referencing.
No.
But he did say that and went on to talk about, the way that he's had to run around given the current state of this offensive line through the first 4 weeks is not something that's going to suit him. And went on to say things like, look, he's clearly dinged up right now. And if he is dinged up, or if he isn't dinged up, he looks like he's lost a step. Clearly he's dinged up. We know this by now. We've seen the sideline footage from a fan that was in attendance as Lamar went to shake hands with Patrick Mahomes. We've obviously seen now the severity of multiple reports that potentially suggests that he will not be available. Maybe it's even a 2 to 3 week timeline, which puts him out toward, potentially week 8 after the bye. And now in comes rush hour for, this upcoming potentially 2-week stretch leading into the bye. And then they have the Bears out of that. Do you need me to get that clip?
No, I think that right here is fine. You had already transcribed it. This is you kind of summarized it here, but here we've got it on screen. On Lamar Jackson, Chris Long says he could be dinged up. He could be dinged. He could be dinged the first month of the season, but I have noticed just a little bit of a loss of a step. It feels like when it's time for him to make that magic that so often bailed this team out, he hasn't been able to make it, not with his legs. And I think Ravens fans, Lamar fans have all kind of seen the same thing. And so some people might go ahead and speculate and say, wait, is he losing it? Not at this age. He's not losing it at this age, which is why I thought what Femi said yesterday was really intriguing, because in the early parts of the Bills game, he did have his normal step. And then suddenly it went away. So here's Femi just speculating, like, when did Lamar Jackson really get injured?
That something happened in that Buffalo game. I don't know if it was the Ed Oliver hit or not, but something happened in that game, in my opinion, that affected his hamstring. And anyone that's been an elite level athlete, you don't have to have an acute hamstring injury for your hamstring to be affected by a particular play. You can have a core injury on any play. It could be from, anything from your hamstring to an abdominal muscle, to a groin injury. Those things can all look the same and look completely, as if it was nothing, and it can hurt you. You can have a strain, but you can continue to play. You're just not going to have your 100% full capability. And I think that's what happened with Lamar. And the reason I say that is, if you look at the Cleveland game, I don't recall one designed run. And I don't really recall Lamar taking off. Now, give Cleveland credit. They got a great defense, had a great game plan, but that never stopped Lamar from doing Lamar-type things ever, right? The Detroit game, that shoestring tackle by Muhammad, that in my opinion, if Muhammad doesn't make that tackle, that's a touchdown. Normally, Lamar steps out of that. And there were a couple other plays in that game that I think Lamar normally steps out of. He just didn't seem to have it, in my opinion. But he had it for the first 3.5 quarters of the of the Buffalo game. So it's not like Lamar just lost everything. For those of you that are track aficionados or fans, Justin Gatlin ran a PR in the 100 at like 9.8 something at 35 years old. Lamar is what, 29? So Lamar has not lost his top end speed. And there's a bunch of use cases in the track and field world about track athletes PRing in their mid 30s, late 30s. I'm talking 100 meters. I'm talking like elite level sprinting. People are still PRing, right? So Lamar is not anywhere near to being tapped out in regard to his top end speed and athletic ability. So that was the first thing that prompted it. I just wanted Bobby to know that I don't think that it was, I don't think he's lost a step. I don't think he's lost any escapability, but also like the way he's trying to escape is atypical. You notice Lamar was dropping back further and further and further. He wasn't stepping up in the pocket. You know what I mean? I think because none of that has been working. There's nowhere to step to. And even when there was, I don't care how good you are. If you feel pressure and you feel like you can't find a safe spot or a safe zone, you just almost go into panic mode. And I'm not saying it's panic mode in the sense that Lamar doesn't know what he's doing. It's more like, hey, nothing is working. I'm getting hit from a different person every time. I just think the natural tendency is, let me just get away and buy time, right? That doesn't play into Lamar Jackson escaping the pocket necessarily either. And I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole on escape lanes and, how protections and certain outlets for backs and all these different things come together to allow some type of game plan for escapability. But I do see what people are saying. I just wanted people to know that I think that the injury happened in Buffalo. I don't know it for sure. Obviously, I'm not clairvoyant. I can't read anybody's mind. But everything I see tells me that it's something that happened in the Buffalo game.
And I had asked him specifically, Bobby, because a lot of people were asking about Daniel Fa'alele, or it wasn't, we speculated it was, people were accusing Daniel Fa'alele, but we got no word of who it was, but an offensive lineman stepped on Lamar Jackson's foot during training camp and he had to miss a couple of days. And so I asked him, is it possible that it was then? And he said no, because he had it at the beginning of the Bills game. So And you made a good point. Remember, you said there was that GQ article where Lamar
No, I was
revealed.
wrong on that. It was the Post, Washington Post.
Oh, it was the Washington Post. Okay, well, but he had revealed that he was injured in which game?
So if I'm remembering it correctly, GQ was something that he had done, I think, at a different time. But
Okay.
the Washington Post, I believe, released an article on the day of or the day prior to the rematch of the AFC Championship game last year.
That's
And
right.
in that, Lamar had kind of opened up about, because remember, all this talk was like how Ms. Felicia Jones was like, why aren't you running more? You know, like what's going on here? And that was like a big topic of conversation. Was that after the AFC Championship game, or was that
No, that was last year at the Eagles loss.
Okay, excuse me. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
clearly I just confused that with the December 1st game, to your point, against the Eagles. But also in the AFC Championship game, we observed, and many others observed, like, why was Lamar so unwilling, at least to his standard, to tuck it and run when the play gave him something, like when play allowed him to do so? And then ultimately he revealed in that article the day of the rematch that he just wasn't fully healthy. So it's part of it.
And so who knows? I mean, obviously, it's so weird because obviously there's injury reports and you have to report injuries, but when it this happens all the time, this scenario that you're talking about. How about Roquan Smith revealing to the Baltimore Sun right before the beginning of this season that last year at the beginning of the season he was injured?
Yeah.
Like you hear these stories all the time when players finally reveal injuries, but they were never on the injury report. You know what I mean? And so that's why it's not crazy to think that what Femi is saying based off of what he's watching Lamar, that all of a sudden that 1 week he looks like himself and then suddenly he's not anymore. And again, like whether it was the Ed Oliver hit or something else. And again, it brings back to like John Harbaugh, like cutting off the question. Like when exactly was he injured? What play was it? He's like, we don't really need to get into that,
Yeah.
So anyway.
I went ahead and got exact wording for you too, by the way, because I want to make sure from that Washington Post.
Washington Post. Okay, what is it?
He gave an interview to the Washington Post. This is dating back to September of 2024, and a CBS article that was quoting certain pieces from that interview says Lamar Jackson blames, quote, hurting legs for Ravens title game loss to the Chiefs. Quote, we should have won that shiz. Let me make sure that I have other specifics from it, but hurting legs, right? Suggesting that he was nowhere near 100%, which is what led Lamar to not escape the pocket maybe as freely and as willingly in that championship game. So just wanted to be thorough on what I was referencing. Was not GQ. It's a Washington Post article dating back to last year.
Well, meanwhile, thanks for digging that up so we can have it at the top of our minds. The Ravens are preparing. I did see a tweet that the Texans are still preparing as if Lamar Jackson is going to play. But in Baltimore, I think the players are preparing as if he's not going to play, because Mark Andrews was asked about the challenge to play without Lamar. He said, it will be a challenge, but I have a lot of faith in the guys. We have a bunch of fighters. Good. We're going to need some fighters. John Harbaugh was asked about Cooper Rush, who was in line. He says Cooper's experienced. He's been in these situations before, as has Tyler Huntley. Cooper's up to speed. He's been with us all the way back to the beginning. He's been in every practice, every meeting. He knows the offense. He'll be ready to go. So there's that. Meanwhile, Bobby, we're just talking about Lamar's injury, but unfortunately, it's not the only one. It's not even close to the only one. This is not a situation where the Ravens are like, hey, we still got a great defense. We got a lot of things going for us. We still have all these other Pro Bowlers. Like, we can keep this afloat for a couple weeks until Lamar can come back. And we had a practice report at the end of yesterday, but there were some guys that we didn't know they were injured because they were at practice. But there were some on here that we didn't even know about because they were limited. Look at this list. If you are watching on YouTube, you can see it. This list goes on for days. This is giving me shades of 2020, shades of 2021.
21. Yeah.
Like, it's bananas. I'm going to let you go through the list because you're really better at pronouncing names, even though I guess I know all these names. But I'm going to let you go through the list. Just run through it. this list.
I got you because I already did yesterday, so I already have it under my belt. This is my
You're
second
ready.
time through. And you're right. It's 2021-esque where it's just a laundry list, and it's almost as if the graphic needs a different formatting because of how many names are on this list. So
The font keeps getting smaller and smaller.
that's exactly it. For our audio-only audience, this is the first of 3 injury reports this week leading into week 5. There are 14 total players listed, 8 of which have DNP designations. Okay? 14 total players. 8 of them are regular starters, by the way. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 DNPs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 limited designations. I'll rip through them. First name, Cheeto Awuzie is a new one, Sarah. He has been a bright spot in a secondary that's been otherwise very, very inconsistent through 4 weeks. He's got a hamstring. He was a DNP. Kyle Hamilton popped up as one of the limited players on Wednesday's practice with a groin. Marlon Humphrey and Roquan Smith, as we know from reports by Ian Rappaport, are going to miss a couple weeks. Marlon with a calf DNP, Roquan with a hamstring DNP. Lamar, we know this. We beat it to a pulp. Hamstring DNP. Emory Jones, maybe cause for celebration. His 3-week window ramping up from shoulder surgery after the combine. Their 3rd-round pick out of LSU, a tackle that potentially has guard flexibility. Practice debut, good for him. His 3-week window off of the NFI list is officially underway. Travis Jones, limited with a knee. Did not play this past weekend, was not available towards the crunch time stretch of that Detroit game the week prior. Tyler Linderbaum, new name on this list. Calf, limited. Pat Ricard, we've talked about it. Calf, DNP, very murky, not an IR candidate, at least not right now. Hopefully, to Sarah, your point earlier on, that suggests that they're going to get him back at some point. At the same time, he's got to start practicing. It's not just like, oh yeah, he's a participant on Wednesday next week. Oh yeah, let's play him against the Rams. Like, I just don't think it happens. The guy hasn't practiced since August. Ronnie, new name on this list.
Take a breath.
Seriously, it's required.
You had to take a breath to keep going down the injury report.
I know. And I said Ronnie's a new name. He's not. He was banged up with an ankle last week. I don't know how he gutted through it this past Sunday in Kansas City, but he did. And then to his detriment, because Joe Noteboom comes in at left tackle to protect Lamar's blind side. Lamar ends up out of the game. We know the rest of that. Ronnie pops up as a DNP with that ankle on Wednesday. Brent Urban is new on this list. He was just signed to the 53-man roster. Defensive end, finger, limited. KVN missed the last couple games. Hamstring, limited. To your point earlier in the week, at the end of last week, he was upgraded to limited. Perhaps he'll try to give it a go with Travis Jones coming up this weekend. Devontae Walker is new on this list with an oblique. He only played 4 snaps offensively last week, Sarah. He is a DNP, not even limited. He was a DNP on Wednesday, and Jeff Zrebeck noted yesterday that he saw on, I think it was a kickoff formation maybe, he saw him limp off after getting knocked out. When I say knocked out, getting roughed up. Nate Wiggins, not a lot of clarity. John Harbaugh, we have a slide on this that'll come in just a minute here with an elbow. He was a DNP, and that is your 14 players, Sarah, that popped up on the first of 3 injury reports for week 5.
Hey, you rest your voice for a second after going through all that. That was a labor of love right there. Okay. Jeff Zrebeck put some of this stuff in perspective, all these injuries. Says the Ravens had 11 returning Pro Bowlers on their roster this year. 6 of them didn't practice yesterday. Said 3 were limited, and only running back Derrick Henry and wide receiver Zay Flowers were full participants. Meanwhile, Jonas Schaefer has some more numbers. 14 players on the injury list, 10 regular starters, 10. 8 were DNPs, 6 limited. And oh, by the way, Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum were the 2 that showed up out of nowhere. I've got one more interesting stat that these guys didn't note. I'm going to have to note it on maybe Twitter later today. As I was looking down these injuries, Bobby, do you know how many of them are soft tissue injuries? 14 injuries, 9 are soft tissue injuries. Look at this list. Hamstring, groin, calf, hamstring, a shoulder and knee in there, calf, hamstring, ankle and finger, hamstring, oblique, and then the elbow. This is the type of stuff that's supposed to be more preventable, right? Like if somebody rams into your knee, sometimes that just happens.
Yeah.
But there's so many soft tissue injuries, and Kadri's over there just stewing.
Yes, he is.
Because he's like, this is all preventable. And so, like, I don't know. It definitely brings into question, like, it's just so tough because when they switched their trainers, it seemed like these types of injuries went away.
And it
These
did.
were the type of and it did.
Yeah.
And so, like, these are the type of injuries you're supposed to be working through during training camp and the preseason. Obviously, John Harbaugh, ever since the J.K. Dobbins days where he just destroyed his knee in the preseason game, and he was giving he gave the offensive starters one drive against the Washington Commanders, and that's when he blew out his knee. And so ever since then, he's taken it a more cautious approach, which I've been fine with because these soft tissue injuries haven't been happening the last 2 years. So did something change? Is this a cluster? Is it bad luck? Is it like making up for all those good years? But like 9 soft tissue injuries. So on one hand, it's like, it's nice that they're just soft tissue injuries because that's why you have hope that a bunch of guys will be back after the bye. And then you have a really cushy schedule after that. But at the same time, it's like more of these should be preventable. 9 is a lot of soft tissue injuries in the first month of football.
Yeah, we don't know the severity of Nate either yet. We watched the car wreck play that he was in, car wreck-esque type play. By the way, I've said this a couple times now, and I keep reminding myself to go back and watch the replay, and I haven't. Was it Pacheco that he collided with? Can somebody help me out in the live chat here? Was Nate Wiggins, was the play that knocked him out, was Isaiah Pacheco? I want to say it was, but I need a little bit of help on that because I just haven't had time to go back and look yet, or I haven't made time. Yes, it was. Okay, thank you, Kafi. So anyway, this was mostly just, Sarah, in line with the prickly nature of Harbaugh yesterday, which we've already talked about. But when asked about Nate specifically, it was, quote, "Why don't we wait until tomorrow?" So that is unclear in terms of what's going on with Nate. But given the nature of the availability or lack thereof of 14 different players now potentially on this list, the Ravens are having active tryouts. Sarah, it's open season in Baltimore right now for guys that are trying to get signed. So as Jeff noted, they had 4 defensive backs in for tryouts yesterday. That was Wednesday. Michael Davis, Keemon Hall, Keenan Isaac, and Amani Oruwariye. I'm getting that down at this point. Amani Oruwariye, who's had a career that many have followed, whether it was in Dallas or Detroit. He's had 1 or 2 other stops as well. So that's kind of where they stand right now. Mina Kimes said it best in one of her game previews that I just listened to this morning. She's like, look, I pride myself on keeping up with the personnel that's ever changing, all throughout this league that we cover. And she covers all 32 teams, which is why she's such a freaking star, that she has such a good pulse on teams like the Ravens and others. She's like, but I don't know a lot of these names that the Ravens are bringing in, which is an indication of where they're at right now. And guess what? I'm with you, Mina. I got to look up who these people are aside from Amani. So anyway, that's the state of the Ravens, Sarah, right now. And I think as a result, coming up on Sunday, you will see some names that are either contributing or being called up from the practice squad that you aren't too familiar with, because that's where they are right now.